All right, everybody, back at it again. A Green with Envy post game, but we're the bad boys of Celtics podcasting. There's still 3:54 left in the game, but we don't give a damn. We're firing up the mics. It's 123-101 Celtics as we're recording. We're going to talk about this game. We're going to talk about the end of that Celtics Jazz game. What a catastrophe that was. We'll talk about that. We'll set you up for the weekend, and we got a big announcement. So stay tuned, lock in. You guys know the deal. This is Green with Envy. Let's do it. What up, what up, what up? Welcome into another edition of Green with Envy, a Green with Envy post game. That's not actually a post game yet. We're recording here live on YouTube and Twitter. Currently, there is 3:54 still remaining in the Celtics Wizards game. Celtics are up 123-101. We'll jump in here with the final as soon as we get there, but we felt like we didn't need to wait around. So, as always, this is where Will We're checking in. How you doing? How you living? Joining me, as he does each and every time, my best friend, co-host, and the coach of our podcast, the one and only, Greg Manakis. Greg, had to have a bounce back. Had to have it tonight.
Dude, Jaylen Brown is playing so good that he inspired my lazy ass to get off the couch at the start of the second half, stop eating leftover Halloween candy, and get a workout in. That's how good Jaylen Brown was playing tonight. I literally was like, we got a men's league game tomorrow. If Jaylen is out here hooping like this and I'm here in my underwear just eating fucking leftover Snickers, Twix, Reese's, and all the great candies, I need to get up and do something. So I literally got a workout in for almost the entire second half just because of how good Jaylen Brown was playing.
Hey, shout out to Jaylen and shout out to you, man. I got to be honest. You inspired me to buy a bag of candy. It's been it's been tough, especially when you have a kid that can't even eat candy. So it's really just extremely self-indulgent.
Dude, James is allergic to peanuts. We got so many candies with peanuts in the house. I got to eat them all.
You got to eat them. Yeah, you can't let them get near him. Can't let them get near him. But big game for the Celtics. Right now, it's 128-101 here. Time is dwindling down. We'll give you the final score as soon as it goes live. Before we get into this game here, which right now we are live on YouTube and on Twitter, so people may start joining in here as the game does go final. Want to make a quick announcement here. We are going to have a special podcast on Friday morning. We're going to be live on YouTube, live on Twitter. It's going to go down at 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central. Special guest that we got booked here. I'm not going to give away the name yet because I know things can always change, and so I always want to give ourselves an out just in case something happens. But I will say this guest was expensive, so I want you guys to make sure that you show up and show some love for this guest. So Friday morning, special guest, special episode of Green with Envy, 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 8:30 a.m. Central. Make sure you guys are rocking with us across all of our socials. But Greg, for right now, let's talk about the Celtics teams. They are on the verge here of going to 4-5, getting back to one game under 500 after a pretty disastrous Monday night, which we can talk a little bit about at the, after we get through this game here. But first quarter of this game seemed like it was spilling over from what happened on Monday night. And then the Celtics went into turbo mode, and that was led by Jaylen Brown, who, as you alluded to, has been incredible tonight. His night is already done, so we can talk about him in totality. 35 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. He inspired your workout. Inspire me with some of your thoughts on Jaylen Brown.
On Monday night against the Jazz, one thing I like to do during games is just text some buddies that are also watching the games. We can complain about the team. We can talk about Jaylen Brown, Peyton Pritchard, Derek White, Ugo Gonzalez, all the guys that are like at the top of mind this season. And Jaylen Brown with my guy Phil Keefe is a bit of a polarizing figure because, as you know, I'm a huge JB guy. He's been my guy since he's been on the Celtics. He's my favorite Celtics player. And Phil doesn't quite see Jaylen the way that I see Jaylen. I think Jaylen is like at his best a top 10 player in the NBA, and he's absolutely playing like it. But at one point I texted him and I said, I really feel like Jaylen Brown studied SGA this summer. And the reason I say that is because of a very specific thing that he's doing when he's driving to his left hand. Jaylen has always weaponized an offhand, but now he's taking it, and as he's driving, he's digging his forearm into the waist of the defender. It's something that SGA does really well, and it allows you to get away with push-offs without the refs necessarily seeing it. Because if you're pushing off up near the shoulders, it's easier for somebody to kind of like exaggerate that contact. But if you're pushing off at the hip level, it just
We've seen
allows
the
you to
JB
push them.
extension in years past, right, where it's very, very obvious.
Right. He's always weaponized it, but he's doing it in a way where he's getting to his pull-up and he's just digging that elbow and that forearm into somebody's hip, creating the contact and pulling up right into that space. And it's an SGA move. And Scal even called it out I think it was at the midway through the third quarter. He was like, man, that looks like SGA. And I'm glad Scal called that out. Scal has this way of saying the things that I said, even though I'm saying them to myself and in text messages, like the very next game. So happened again where Scal called out that JB clearly was studying some SGA tape, and it looks great on him.
Yeah, I think this is, to a degree, like the Jalen that we always imagined, right? Because he's such an he's a little bit of a throwback with a new age twist, if that makes any sense. Like I even saw, I think it was Corrales was talking about a conversation him and Jay King were having, that some of his, tonight getting in the mid range, the pump fakes that he was doing and then drawing contact were kind of DeMar DeRozan-esque, right? And so some of that mid range of SGA, DeRozan, you've also compared him to some of T-Mac's game with his footwork when he gets to certain areas. That's always been, and I was thinking about this tonight, that like this is kind of the JB that I always want to see offensively, like when he's scoring the basketball, where just his shot profile tonight, right? 13 of 21 from the field, 2 of 4 from 3-point, 7 of 9 from the line. Like that's a really good split for Jalen's game. Now, obviously, we have to keep in mind the context of who's defending him against the Wizards. Wizards don't really have any great defensive matchups for him. So these are guys that Jalen's going to be able to get to his spots basically whenever he wants. But this is what superstars do when they play teams of this ilk or have matchups. Like this is what you see a guy like SGA do, a guy like Giannis do. They're like, cool, nobody can stop me from getting exactly what I would want to do every single night, every single time. So I'm going to do it and I'm going to abuse it because they can't stop it. And that's what elevates their teams, right? Is the fact that they have this weapon, to your point, that the other team has no counter for. And tonight, Jalen executed that perfectly from the tip all the way through, the beginning of the fourth quarter before, he took a seat as this game is starting to come to a close right now.
35, 5-5 with a steal and only one turnover. And, we called out a couple pods ago a 35-5 line as like, man, if Jalen could put that up for the season, that would be like the best season we could imagine from Jalen. He goes 35, 5-5 in 25 minutes, 53 seconds. Apparently, there's only been 5 guys in NBA history that have done that.
I was very excited about the stat.
Yeah. It was like the last thing I heard before we hit record here. So I mean, Jalen's he deserves all the flowers right now, all the praise. He's the one guy that has been playing at a level befitting of an NBA Finals MVP and a champion, right? Everybody else on the team has been kind of dragging behind and dragging him down, but he's trying to pull his guys to victories, and he deserves all the credit in the world. He's playing like a top 5 guy in the NBA right now.
Yeah, this game has gone final. It is Celtics 136, Wizards 107 is your final score. Celtics now officially back to 4-5, 2 games this weekend coming up against the Magic, who we'll talk a little bit about that before we sign off tonight. But back to focusing on this win. Jalen was excellent. Jalen's been excellent these last 2 games. We will touch on, because he was very heavily involved, obviously, at the end of that Jazz game. But I want to save that. We don't need to talk about that now. I want to focus on this game here. And this bounce back game, which, as I mentioned, started off pretty rough in the first quarter, minus Jaylen Brown. Peyton Pritchard, 2 fouls in the first 45 seconds. He was then basically on the bench the rest of that first quarter. And from there, other than Jalen, there really wasn't much good they had going. But resiliency, good bounce back from the rest of this team here. And I think at the end of the day, you have a lot of guys that actually played pretty well in this game. And so one of the guys that I do want to start with and highlight here is Neemias Queta. I thought Nemi was actually probably the only other guy that I would maybe put in that Jaylen Brown category that even in the first quarter I thought was playing pretty well. I think something that he's starting to find his rhythm with is he's still not the world's best screen setter, but as far as when to dive, when to fill the lane, and when to seal a smaller guy. He's getting really good at those instinctual things that just make life easy on a big man. And that's what you saw tonight, where he goes 7 of 7 from the field, finishes with 15 points and 12 rebounds, and had 5 assists, which is a huge missing part of this team. Is anyone else besides Pritchard, Derek White, and Jaylen Brown that can get more than 1 assist in a game? Just happens very rarely so far. So for Neemias Queta, I think maybe his most complete game, had a steal and a block in here as well too. Maybe his most complete all-around game. And I think just in general, some really positive signs of the growth that we're looking for from him. A lot of that all over this game tonight for him.
Yeah, Nemi's been great, man. And a team stat real quick. 31 assists. How many turnovers do you think the Celtics had tonight?
I'm looking at it right now, so
Okay.
I know, but 5 turnovers. Again,
31
our assist to
assists,
turnover
5
ratio,
turnovers.
amazing. Assist, good to see the 31 assists. It's been a minute. Also funny, just talking to Scal. One of the things that really stood out to me today is that it seemed this is the first time, at least in the broadcast, that I've noticed where he's really been like, "Yeah, man, we're just not that good of a passing team." I don't know if anybody else has noticed this. It's like, yeah, Scal. Anyone who's been watching since the preseason and even going into the season kind of expected this team not to be a great passing team. We've noticed.
Yeah. Yeah, but going back to Nemi, I just think, you referred to it as an instinctual thing, like when to seal and all that stuff. I don't think that's necessarily an instinctual thing. I think that's something that is skill and drill. Like you have to just drill that, and eventually it becomes instinctual. But I think until you put in the reps and you have the actual playing time, right? It's not second nature to everybody. It's something that you really have to work on. And early in the season, Scal was actually calling that out as like probably the worst part of Queta's game, right? Was he didn't have the timing down. He didn't know when to dive. And now he's getting out of screens, right? Even if it's a high pick and roll, the Celtics are doing a lot of empty side pick and rolls. And I think Queta is doing a much better job of getting out of those. But I think his cuts to the basket, he just like knows when to fill the lane, to your point, right? He kind of just like like when Peyton Pritchard drives baseline, for example, and Queta is just kind of hanging around the free throw line area. He just moves his body and finds open space and finds opportunities for him to, get a putback dunk or to finish a lob. And he's just everywhere. 7 for 7 from the field tonight. And this is about as perfect of a Queta game as you can ask for, right? 15, 12, 4 offensive rebounds, 5 assists, a steal, and a block. Like, I mean, that's like Al Horford.
There's nothing else you can ask for. That's it. That's a Nemi game right there. And the biggest point is that 7 of 7 for all the things that we're talking about. Like, there's 7 really easy buckets. They're all slam dunks. They're shots at the rim. It's exactly where you want Nemi to be in those moments, right? And to your point, you're right. This is not necessarily instinctual. It's more just it feels like he doesn't have to think about it as much. Yeah. It's becoming, to your point, it's becoming more that way. And so I just think early season, as I'm starting to look at this team as we approach the 10 game mark this weekend, like Nemi for me is one of the guys that I'm like, I think Nemi's been absolutely, there's no doubt he's a solid B plus, A minus, depending on how you want to set whatever expectations. Like, he's been good. I really can't. I think Nemi, who I was a little worried about after some of his couple preseason performances of what we were going to get, he's been pleasantly surprising. And I think a lot of the numbers, the on-off numbers, back it up that when he's out there, the Celtics are still a pretty steady team. It's behind him, you're just not finding much when it comes to the front court. Even tonight, where almost everybody is a positive in the plus minus, Luka Garza is the one negative at -3, right? There just really isn't anything behind him.
He's just not an NBA player, Luka Garza.
Yeah.
It's not his fault. It's just like,
it's not his fault. You're right. You're 100% right. And that's, to a point, at one point I texted you and Alex, like, what is this lineup we have out there? It was like Garza, Ugo, Jordan Walsh, Simons, and maybe Hauser. And I was like, this is not an NBA lineup. I don't know what this is. This is not an NBA lineup that we have out there. But Nemi, to your point, I think he's definitely establishing himself as an NBA player. Where that's going to be by the end of the season, I think it's really fascinating to keep an eye on. But I'm loving what I've seen out of Neemias Queta so far. Let's go to Josh Minott, because another why not type of night, man. 8 of 12 from the field, 3 of 6 from 3, 2 of 2 from the line. Finishes with a new career high. I believe his either second or third career high that he's set this season already through 9 games. 21 points, 5 rebounds, 3 steals. And much like we talked about Queta's cutting, Minot's becoming a really excellent cutter and becoming that vertical threat, that athlete off the wing that the Celtics have needed for a long time.
Yeah, as a wing, but playing out of the corner, right? Most of the stuff that he's doing is out of the corner. He's really smart at just like knowing when to hold the corner and knowing when to get into that dunker spot. Very like Aaron Gordon like the way that he's kind of been handling the baseline and handling the dunker spot, and everything that he does is just full speed, like best athlete on the court in terms of verticality, and he's just so springy, man, and like for a team that definitely was resting on its laurels a little bit last season, having to run it back, and they didn't quite have the exuberance that you were kind of needing from that
Right.
team. And I think that reared its ugly head in the playoffs. Like Josh Minott is just an injection of energy, kind of what I was expecting Chris Boucher to do for this team. Like Josh Minott is doing that in, times 5. And I think we found are starting power forward. Well,
Yeah.
like when you bring Jason Tatum back, there's no reason why Josh Minott should not hold that power forward spot down, just because he's going to be able to take so much of the pressure off of Jason Tatum and all the stuff that he used to have to do. And then when you factor in Jaylen Brown is playing at this level, and you're bringing Jason Tatum back from an injury, and you can kind of just like bring him back, but not have him do all the stuff that he used to do, but bring him back slowly and fit in around the other guys as they're playing at the level that they're playing right now. Like this team could be interesting come March or April.
Yeah, and Minot is easily the best part of this early season for me, right? Like just every night, I'm waiting to see how Minot is going to insert himself in the game. I think that's the best way to describe what he does is insert himself, right? Like there's not stuff really run for him. Like he's going to be just on the glass. He's going to be athletic. He's starting to really find a chemistry, right? Because I think there's sometimes you can see like I was noticing like towards the end of the game when it was getting a little bit out of hand, like Simons and Hauser still haven't really figured out where they're supposed to be, like when they're trying to work together. Minot knows exactly where he's supposed to be, right? Minot knows, to your point, playing out of the corners with Derek White, with Peyton Pritchard, with Jalen, with Nemi, like that group of 5, they all know where they're supposed to be spatially. That's probably the one group, and like I'm sure if you insert Hauser just because of the experience with the group, like it still feels good, but like that grouping is like where it feels like it makes the most sense with this team right now.
Yeah.
And Minot, and him just hitting 3 out of 6, like especially in that first quarter when he hit 2, when the Celtics were just like, okay, Jalen has like 18 and we have 2 points outside of that.
Yeah. We were down 10 and he had 2 straight threes.
Yeah, that was huge. And so that's a mega bonus is Josh Minott hitting, 3 threes tonight, being 3 of 6. You saw him taking them very confident. One of those guys where he hits 1 or 2 early and he takes the next couple with such confidence that like he might not make them all, but you see a massive difference in the approach to his shot if he makes 1 or 2 early. And so Josh Minott, again, just another really solid game. Josh Minott, man, just a revelation so far this season.
Been so fun. Can we talk about Pritchard?
Let's do it because I mentioned before, he got in foul trouble 45 seconds into this game. And that was a part of that first quarter malaise, if you will, right? Having to go to Simons so early. And then I think obviously once Peyton was back in, I can't remember, I think he might have checked in towards the end of or maybe he didn't come back at all in the first quarter. And then that second quarter, he played the whole time and was great. And I think that really started to change the course of this game.
I just love the way he's playing right now. Like, obviously, the shot's not falling to the degree that you want from outside. Will, who have I always compared him to?
Jalen Brunson.
Well, I've always compared to Fred VanVleet, but recently I've been
Yes.
comparing him to Jalen Brunson.
You get a lot of comparisons, yeah.
But I really do feel like as much as Jalen studying SGA tape, I feel like Peyton Pritchard is studying Jalen Brunson tape. Like his ability to play off of 2 feet right now and just dig. It's very similar to what I was talking about with Jaylen Brown digging into the hips with the off arm. Like Peyton Pritchard is the master at that, right? He just gets into your hip. He just controls you with his off arm. And then he plays off of 2 feet. That little reverse pivot that he's doing for the fadeaway is money. And that is textbook Jalen Brunson basketball right there. So I want to give Pritchard all the credit in the world, because when he's able to get into the paint and actually make a difference and not just get like overwhelmed by the size in there, and he can find his space and he can hold his dribble and hold his line for that extra beat that he really needs to, or he can Nash on the baseline, like all these things that Peyton Pritchard is capable of doing, but he hasn't been able to do against like the very best teams out there yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Probably means when Jason Tatum comes back, he goes back to his natural position coming off of the bench. But I'm loving everything that I'm seeing out of Peyton Pritchard over the last couple of games. It's going to be interesting. The next time we go up against a real defensive team, what he's able to do. Is Jalen still able to get to his spots? Because the last time we saw this team really struggle was against the Rockets, right? And the Rocket, there was obviously that was a schedule loss and everything, but the Rockets just completely overwhelmed both Jaylen Brown and Peyton Pritchard and Derek White.
Well, coming up this weekend, the Magic defense has not been what it was that we saw in the playoffs, but there should still be a solid defense somewhere in the Magic. We'll talk. I don't know what the hell's going on with the Magic. I watched a little bit of their game versus the Hawks last night. It's getting weird in Orlando early, but Jalen Suggs, that's going to be an interesting matchup for Peyton Pritchard to go up against and see what that looks like. But to your point again, Peyton Pritchard has been absurd on 2-point shots this year. Tonight, again, he goes 7 of 12 overall, 2 of 6 from 3. He was 5 of 6 again from 2-point range. And that footwork inside the lane and just outside of the lane, getting to those spots, getting those shots the way that you were describing, it's been pretty incredible to watch. And it's an element of Peyton's game that we haven't really seen over the last couple, because it hasn't been needed, right? He's been doing what was needed out of him. And so seeing him get this opportunity to be this guy when he gets, and he's really, outside of Jalen, basically the only guy getting to the paint, right? Like there's no one else that is getting to the paint off the bounce. If you get Anthony Simons a straight line in transition, he can do it. But other than that, he's not getting there, right? So it comes down to Peyton and Jalen if we're going to get paint touches. And the Peyton Pritchard shooting over 65% from 2. Not something that I had on my, regular season bingo card. Did not see that coming. And every time I think it might stop, it doesn't. And like even tonight at one point, I think it was in the third quarter, Pritchard, I was almost mad because Pritchard had opportunities for like a really easy 2-point jump shot, and he did the Andrew Nemhard where he ran out to the 3-point line. And I was like, dude, you don't miss from 2 right now. Just take it. It's like a layup for you. You were so open. Because I'm just loving watching how Peyton's operating with that game playing off of 2 feet. And so just another really nice performance from him. 18 points, 5 assists, 7 of 12 from the field. As you said, 2 of 6 from 3, but I think important in this game, and I'll include Derek White in this, they only went 4 of 11 combined. I think for the most part, they took good threes, right? And that's for 2 of them is almost as important as them getting back to making a consistent 40%. Is let's start with the right shots, and then I think the shot's just going to go in because they're both good shooters. But I think that's really important for them, even though it was 4 of 11. That's nothing to write home about, but I think it's in a step in the right direction.
I just am so happy that they're both taking shots that aren't ridiculous heat checks when there's no heat. It's like what are we trying to shoot ourselves into heat, into hotness? Like that's just not something that you're going to be able to do. I was happy with Derek White's game tonight. I thought he was an absolute menace on defense. Like he was everywhere. Deflection, steals, blocks. He ended up with 5 stocks, 3 steals and 2 blocks. And I would love to see how many deflections he had, because this is the Derek White that we need. We don't need Derek White right now to be an all-star point guard. We just need Derek White to be what Derek White has been in the past. And he hasn't been anywhere close to what he's been in the past, right? Like it seemed like he was forcing everything, trying to do too much. And if he can just be like the dominant role player that he's been, we probably have another win or 2 on our record right now. But 4 and 5, we could easily be 6 and 3 if Derek White is just playing better basketball that we're accustomed to. And he's the first to admit it. He talked about how
especially after the Jazz game, so he played like shit.
Yeah, I mean, he knows he's going to turn it around. And I thought, only going 2 for 5 from 3, that's what you want out of Derek White until he finds his shot, to your point.
Yeah, and 8 assists too, which I think is big. Which watching this game again about how much finding assists and easy baskets have been a struggle. Like we talked about, Jalen might be a guy who facilitates. And then we quickly walked that back. Like, nah, Jalen's got to be the 30-plus guy. Like, we need Jalen to be that guy. The guy that probably could be take a step back scoring wise, but be more of a facilitation guy, it's probably Derek White. Like that's probably the answer. And part of that's just because of his IQ, right? Like I don't think he's necessarily a wizard passing like you see some of these other guys, but with his IQ, and again, you saw it a little bit with him and Nemi. They developed a little bit. I love to go back and see how many assists Nemi had off of Derek White passes. I bet you it's at least 2 or 3 because it felt like they were developing a little bit of a chemistry. So I like seeing that snowman in the assist column from Derek White. I think that's going to be something to keep an eye on going forward. I do see a comment in the chat here, and I do want to get to this guy here. So let's get to it now. We have a comment here from Mr. Miyagi. Oh, Mr. Miyagi. There we go. I get it. How do we feel about Walshy minutes tonight? And listen, I sent this guy to China. I was done with Jordan Walsh. Still, listen, tonight's they're playing the Wizards. The Wizards are one step above the Nets and Pelicans, which are all barely above G League teams at this point. So we're not going to get carried away, but kudos is due where kudos is due. Jordan Walsh was great tonight. Jordan Walsh was a part of that second quarter turnaround, along with Peyton Pritchard, along with Josh Minott and Jaylen Brown. Like Jordan Walsh's energy, his 7 rebounds, which again, this team cannot rebound. It was biting them in the ass again in that first quarter, and them turning this around, a big part of that was Jordan Walsh. So 7 points, 7 rebounds. Got to give Jordan Walsh his props on a night like this.
Over under 11.5 the amount of times that we give kudos to Jordan Walsh this season.
So we're at 1. So I'm heavy taking the under on that. I still don't really believe in Jordan Walsh, but I think in a game like this, to your point, and these are the nights that we didn't even have to kind of break this out last year, where it's like, just give us the energy, guys. Just go. We don't need these guys. We don't need the big studs that we had last year. Like this year, just every night. And you texted me this. Like if you're playing 15 guys, you probably don't really have that many guys that you actually should be playing. You're just hoping you find lightning in a bottle with one of those guys tonight. And there's like 6 or 7 guys that are going to play every night. Everyone else is kind of, let's see what you got in your first stint. Don't got it. All right, let's try somebody else. Like you see no Boucher, no Tillman tonight, but those guys are going to get plenty of opportunity in other games. Same with Shireman. He didn't play until late, but he got more opportunity, the other night. And so you're going to see a rotation of a lot of these guys of just who has it, who's going to give us a little something where we weren't expecting it. And tonight it was Jordan Walsh.
Yeah, this is a quote that I'm quoting myself here, but I was texting with Phil the other night. And I came up with this. I was like, I like this. If you got 15 guys who play, you don't have guys who can play. That's the quote. And that's how I feel about this Celtics team. Yeah, it's a pretty true statement. But I mean, Jordan Walsh deserves all the credit. Like as much as we can make fun of the 8 through 15 guys on this roster, like they're going to get their opportunities because we don't have the 6, 7, and 8 men on a normal NBA team, right? So like all those guys are going to get their opportunities. And tonight was Jordan Walsh's time to step up. And this is why previously we've been excited about Jordan Walsh. It's because he's so athletic. He can board up. He has really good instincts.
You actually saw his athleticism tonight. This is like one of the few times
in the passing
mostly
lanes.
When I watch him, I'm always looking for it. I never get it.
Right. He had 2 steals tonight. I'm sure he had like 3 or 4 deflections as well. I was really happy with Jordan Walsh. I still think there's the potential for an NBA player in there. He's just one of those like 2 years from being 2 years away guys. He's still so young. He's like barely 21 years old. I think that Jordan Walsh, if he gets a second contract in the NBA, I hope he really gets an opportunity to play and like develop.
I mean, you called it out.
Kind of like Josh Minott.
I was going to say, you called it earlier. He just could be Josh Minott. He just might need to go to a team that is going to give him a full-time shot. Right. And maybe that's where it sticks, right? Because right now, I think Minott and Ugo consistently are going to be above him. But he got his shot tonight, made a lot of it. So we'll see going forward. Now Joe at least has something that he can go, okay, Jordan gave me this in this game. Now I can give him another shot here. We know that he's going to give Ugo, and Josh Minott has basically solidified himself as a starter for the rest of the season already. So now it's going to be, what moments he can find between Ugo and Baylor Shireman, but definitely.
I think, Ugo and Baylor, that's a good point. And we got a comment from Rob version 1, one of our OG commenters. He says, Walsh performed well tonight. Now, if we could get those types of minutes every night, he has a shot at overtaking Baylor. And Ugo liked the rebounding from Walsh tonight. Just need his threes to fall. I think one of the great things about having guys like Baylor, Ugo, and Walshy is that you're creating competition internally with your team, right? Where like none of those guys are ever going to feel like they have their spot solidified. They're going to feel like every time they go on the court, this is their chance, right? And if they don't play well, then there's a guy right behind me that can go ahead and take my spot, right? So having those opportunities and take advantage of those opportunities like Walsh did tonight. Now he's probably going to be first off the bench of those three guys in the next game, right? So we'll see what he can do, and with when the coach looks at him before he looks at other guys.
Yeah. So moving forward here, Celtics again wrap up this one tonight. Final score against the let's see, where's the final score here? I've just missed it. 136 to 107 here against the Wizards. They are now heading off to Orlando, where they'll have 2 games against Orlando, including on Friday night. NBA Cup Group B resumes action on Friday night against the Orlando Magic, and then they will stay in Orlando to play them again on Sunday. Greg, do you want to talk about a little bit about looking ahead to the Magic, or do you want to touch on what happened on Monday night? Specifically, just it was a disaster of a game for the Celtics, but the blown call at the end was maybe even worse.
Whenever I see somebody fall on the court like Keita did, I'm just like, oh, someone's gonna slip, and then like 5 guys slipped in like a 10
whole game. There was something weird at the floor. I don't know if the Bruins are getting ready to play or something, because there was multiple times that there was multi-slip actions that happened in that game, and the craziest part to me about that whole Jalen play is it's one thing if one guy slipped like down in the baseline and it caused this kind of chaos, and it was like, maybe it's a weird angle. It was in the middle of the fucking floor. Like no one else was around. Like it was ISO at the top of the key. The guy goes slipping and slides right into Jalen. And the explanation afterwards was like, oh, I think they slipped at the same time. When I watched the replay after reading that comment in the replays right below, I laughed out loud. It was audibly like hilarious to think that that was your justification for it. And of course that leads to 2 points right down the other end. Eventually Celtics lose on the Nurkic, tip in, but that play altered the ending of the game. There was a lot of stuff the Celtics could have done otherwise, but completely altered the ending of that game.
Yeah, let's just talk about that and just be like angry fans about how bad the refs are for that. Like, I think that's all that we need to do for this little segment here, because that was fucking bullshit. Did Jalen get fined? I saw that he
no, so he
out.
Actually didn't. I saw someone say it was like very surprising. He was expecting a fine. But the 2-minute report came out to know he's 100% right. Like, it should, and that's kind of the way that it should be, right? Like, I think when guys get technicals, which in the moment, like, hey, whatever, you can't go back and change it, but like, or to a degree, maybe you should. If they get it right, if they were upset and you got technical for like yelling at the ref and then they were right, maybe you should rescind it, right? Mm-hmm. And so in this situation, somewhat of a similar scenario, like, I don't think Jalen took his comments above and beyond. Yes, probably by the letter of the law, commenting on the refs, yada, 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 like you're supposed to get a fine. But if you keep it somewhat measured and you don't go like ballistic, but you should technically get fined, and then you get proven right, this is the right call. This is like the logical call that for some reason we sometimes ignore in sports, which is always very frustrating to fans, where it's like, there's a logical way to handle this. We're just choosing not to because we have a quote unquote letter of the law that we need to follow.
Yeah, it's so silly. And it's not like Jalen did a lewd gesture to the referees like Joel Embiid. Did you see Joel Embiid get fined for doing the suck it to the crowd?
The suck it thing? Yeah. I mean, he does it all the time. Like, I think he's just, this is my thing now. I'm just going to get fined.
He's such an idiot. Oh, it's great. No, but Jalen, that sucks, man. Like the Celtics, they should be 5-4 right now. Like, the greatest optimist could say 6-3, but we should be 5-4. Like I think that's where we are as a team right now, like hovering above 500 through 9 games. I think we deserve one more victory. Do you see that the Sixers lost again tonight? So that's maybe 3 in a row for them, or 3 out of 4 for them.
They lost the game Bulls at the buzzer last night. Who did they lose tonight? Let me see here. Oh, the Cavs. The Cavs had their full start in 5. back for the first time. Damn, Donovan Mitchell put up 46 points here, 4 rebounds, and 8
Mitchell's so
assists.
good, man. He's
Big
so
night
good.
from Donovan Mitchell. Yeah, so now
Dude, the
them getting their
Pacers
team
lost to
healthy.
the Nets. Pacers lost to the Nets. They're having a rough season, dude.
Woo, Pacers. Listen, hey, that's kind of that's part of the silver lining here, right? Is we were supposed to be on par with the Pacers. I know the Pacers have had injuries that we have not had, but their season is already spiraling to a place where it's like, what's the point of us clawing back in at this, right? Like,
Yeah.
why are we doing this? Funny footnote though for the Pacers is, I don't know if you remember this, but during the finals, they made this very random trade with the Pelicans to get their first round pick back. I think it was like around game 6. So rough time to be the Pelicans. You traded away your unprotected pick in one of the worst trades that like any like asset wise anyone can think of,
That
and
queen sucks.
you're winless. Yeah, you're winless because of that. And you could have also there's if the Pacers continue to be this bad, there's a world where the Pelicans in like 2 moves could have had 2 top 5 picks in like a loaded draft and are going to walk away with 0 and maybe the worst record in the NBA.
Yeah, they should
Rough
just
time for
they
the
need
5
to
Pelicans fans.
move that. They need to move that franchise,
Yeah,
man. I feel
yeah.
bad. They are in a close game with the Mavs right now. 81-80 Mavs. So that's something to watch. Maybe they'll get their first victory tonight. No Zion in that game either.
Shocking. All right, let's talk here quickly, Greg, about the Magic, because that's where the Celtics are going to next. The Magic have been a team that obviously I had very high hopes for, and I wasn't alone in that. There was a lot of people that were thinking the Magic were going to be kind of that third team behind the Cavs and the Knicks as far as Eastern Conference contention. So far in the season, they are 3-5. And the defense that we saw and I really watched them for the first time last night against the Hawks. Probably from the second quarter till about middle of the third, end of the third, before the game got kind of out of control.
Yeah. Tell me what you saw.
They're a mess, man. They're a mess. They got no flow to their team. Bane was supposed to fix, not fix, but help them offensively, right? He got, I don't know. Did you see how he got thrown out of that game last night?
Yeah. That's I haven't watched any Orlando Magic basketball. I've just seen a few highlights, and that was one of the highlights I've seen.
That was wild. I was watching it. My wife was watching like Dancing with the Stars or something. So I had it like on, but I had it on very low volume. So I was like kind of like half watching, half talking. And then all of a sudden I see Bane pull down. I think it was a Kongwu. And then when he volleyball spiked it on his head, I was like, oh shit. And then Mo Gay came in to kind of break it up. And I don't know why Bane went into like wrestling mode and kind of like put out the like I want you like finger point to him.
Yeah.
It was a really weird scene. It made no sense from anything that I had seen in the game as far as to like why this animosity had boiled up to this point. Like there was literally no indicating signs of it. So it was very strange. And then watching them operate offensively, it's just completely unclear as to what they want to do. And it felt like last season before, well, I guess they got injured pretty early, but in between the Wagner and the Paolo early season injuries, when Suggs was still there, kind of riding shotgun with each of them at different times, like it felt like they were figuring stuff out. And now all 3 of them are back. They've got Bane, and it should make sense. And it just doesn't. It's like a lot of nasty, ugly ISO ball, people cutting at the wrong times, like just not synced up. Defensively, I don't have enough to make a judgment call on that. I've just been seeing the box scores, a lot of 130s, and I'm like, what? And it's really, I watched them play the Celtics really tough last year, and I was worried about them like defensively. I can't explain what's happening to them defensively, but I'm going to be really interested to watch this weekend.
Yeah, I don't really have much to offer because I haven't watched any Magic basketball, but I agree that I'm surprised their defense has been as bad as it's been numbers wise. I haven't watched any tape, so I don't know any of the strategy on either end of the ball for them. So it'll be my first look at the Magic, and the issue that we've had with them in the past is their size, and that could be an issue with this team especially. So we'll see. Looking forward to it.
All right. Well, that's coming up this weekend. Celtics Magic ×2. Again, Friday night will be an NBA Cup game. Once again, quick reminder. Friday morning, 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central, we will have a Green with Envy special presentation, if you will. We'll have an added episode for you guys this week. So if you want to, and I recommend you do, Tune in live on YouTube, on Twitter. We'll promote it as well a little bit beforehand, but make sure you guys are locked in with us this weekend for that special episode. For tonight,
Can I say something?
Celtics win.
Can I say
Yeah,
something
go
real
for it,
quick?
One more thing.
We've been trying to get this guest for 5 years. We've been trying to get this guest for 5 years.
Been a white
and
whale.
We finally got him. We finally got him. Cannot wait for it.
Gonna be a fun time. Can't wait for Friday mornings. I hope you guys join us. Celtics get the win tonight. They go to 4-5. Enjoy your night, everybody. Enjoy this Celtics win, a win they had to have. And now we look ahead to a weekend with the Magic rematch of last year's first round playoff series. We'll catch you guys on Friday morning. Enjoy your Thursdays. Peace.